This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Building a website, selling online, leave it to Squarespace. I bought this pack of Tombow Irojiten colored pencils 2 years ago when I made a video comparing 63 different types of colored pencils to find the best one. But I have not touched these colored pencils in the past 2 years, so it is time to create something with them. First, we have the Pale set, which is a set of pastel colors. We have the Vivid Tone, which is a set of your basic rainbow of colors. And the Deep Tone, which speaks to my soul. It's a very earthy set. No swatching today. We're just going to be jumping into the art and enjoy creating. When I was thinking about what I wanted to illustrate for this video and for all three of these sets, I wanted to make a connection between each of them. As you guys know, I love telling stories through my illustrations. I want to illustrate books. And when I draw something, I just can't help but think, what's the story? How do they connect? I want to see these characters do things, progress in life. I like sets of illustrations, what can I say? Because I was limiting myself to these color palettes, I already had a sort of vibe set for each illustration, so that was a good place to start. But like I said, I wanted to choose characters and tell a story. So I was thinking in my head, it being October, I wanted something spooky. At first, I was thinking we could start off with a cute, bubbly illustration, and as the colors darken, well, things get dark in more than one way, not colorfully, but thematically. So for our first illustration, I'm introducing our characters. We have a little baby jack-o'-lantern, and so far what you can see, we have a pair of eyes looking at the pumpkin, which is going to be a kitty cat, of course. I love drawing cats. There's not a whole lot going on in this illustration. This is the introduction of our characters. I'm just setting the stage for our future story. The young pumpkin who maybe lost its way and doesn't have a family anymore has run or rolled into a stray cat who is also alone. What sort of fun adventures will these two get into, this adorable pastel pumpkin and heterochromia kitty? I got a new kitty a few months ago with heterochromia, and it is very tempting to put him in every illustration I have just because of that. But unfortunately, he is a pure white kitty, which nothing wrong against having a white cat, but in an illustration where you're trying to color things and not leave a lot of white space because your background is a pure white void, I have a feeling I'm probably not going to draw him as much as I think I'm going to, but his spirit is in all of the heterochromia kitties I draw. I only made it heterochromia because this illustration is going to need all of the exciting colors it can get, especially because I did color the cat in just pure gray. I did attempt to shade it with a little bit of purple, but creating an illustration with only pale colors that do not have a whole lot of contrast, even for line working, I do prefer to illustrate lineless when I work with colored pencils because they are very easy to get a good contrast and coloring to separate the parts of the illustration. But because I am challenging myself to stick to this color palette, obviously it was a challenge to create those contrasts. You know, you can only layer a pale color so much and make it so dark, but I really pushed the colors, you know, using blues to shade the greens, using reds and purples to shade the orange. Challenges like these are challenging, but they do make me think of different ways to solve or work around a solution to make an illustration work. Sure, it's not always the most ideal solution. These are fun videos. These aren't videos where I'm trying to make the best illustration ever, but you would be surprised with the amount of practicing not only colored pencils, but colors, techniques I get out of these videos, even if it's not creating an illustration I love. And honestly, I think the results are very interesting. I like it. It kind of lacks that structure that line work gives the illustration, but it's kind of interesting. Every time I glanced at it from the corner of my eye, I thought maybe there was a piece of wax paper on it. It was this weird visual illusion that just looked like something was making it more pale than it should be, but really, it's just a pale illustration. It's soft, it's cute, it's done. Before we get into our vivid illustration, I want to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. Watch me as I so cleverly tie in our sponsor with our colored pencils. Is social media feeling pale for you? With Squarespace's cutting-edge design, your old website will pale in comparison to this library of professionally designed and award-winning website templates. And get this, with SEO tools, you can get discovered vivid fast with integrated Squarespace SEO tools. Can you use vivid that way? I kind of doubt it. Every website is optimized to be indexed with meta descriptions, an auto-generated sitemap, and more. Oh, this is a good one. With Squarespace payments, get your customers to dig deep, like the deep tones, into their pockets with popular payment methods like Klarna, ACH Direct Debit, Apple Pay, Afterpay, and ClearPay. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/KaseyGolden to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Art time. Continuing our story with our pumpkin and our kitty, we are moving on to our vivid tone colors, which are our basic red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, with some variations like a light green. For this illustration, I was thinking this is the middle stage of their life, of their adventures. At this point, they have grown up. Maybe they are just reaching adulthood. I don't know the lifespan of a pumpkin that can walk and talk, so I don't know how old this pumpkin is. But it has grown up. We need to give that little guy or big guy some legs, arms, a fun hairstyle, a hat. I really wanted to channel the Halloween theme on this illustration because the colors, well, like I thought, would be very normal and easy to work with. We had black, so I did feel like I was gonna have some contrast. The problem with the vivid tones is actually the opposite of the pale tones. The pale tones had a problem with being too light and not having enough contrast, while the vivid tones, there's more contrast with the yellow and the light green, but other than that, everything's pretty dark. And maybe at this point you're asking yourself, well, Kasey, colored pencils are able to have a variety of dark and lightnesses as long as you don't press down. Well, here's the problem. The problem is me. My preferred art style of choice, whether I'm making it or looking at it, I just really like flat blocks of color and simple yet bold designs. I don't need gradients or over-rendered this or that. I'm a very simple person. I like children's illustration, and that's my goal in life for a reason, because I like it. Obviously, not that illustrations for children can't be detailed, but typically, they're more simple. And thanks to that, AI artists never want to copy my style, so I'm safe. There were a couple of times when I felt the urge to really lean into the whole pencil thing and do a lot of layering, blending, just really go for it. But at the end of the day, art style is like your handwriting and you just kind of default to it, and I wanted flat blocks of color. A round pumpkin rendered with a nice gradient all around it? No, I just want it to be a big, round, flat pumpkin, and I'll add a little bit of shading here and there and some line work to add details. So I'm not concerned with details as much as I am concerned with trying to simplify this illustration to its colors, its shapes, and maybe use those together in a way where we can get contrast. I think this one turned out all right. There's nothing wrong with it. I just feel like something about having very boring, plain, expected colors kind of dulled down the illustration. Our previous illustration had that pale, foggy feeling to it, as if it was almost a distant memory when they were young. Now we're more near modern times, closer memories, more vivid, brighter. That being said, I think it turned out cute. I'm very much enjoying shading with colors I wouldn't normally push to shade with just because I'm desperate right now. Our little pumpkin guy practicing magic with his little kitty friend. They're cute together, but what is going to happen to them with our deep colors? Ooh. All right, fellas, get your tissues ready because this is where the story takes a very sad turn. Originally, I was actually thinking about how these could be two creatures that over time started off as friends and then they combined to make this horrific Halloween creature. But because I started off doodling them as babies and becoming such good friends and growing up together, instead of having the pumpkin's magic spells go awry and a disaster happening, I just went the very sad, fulfilled, full life of these guys. After tackling the challenge of the pale colors, I was feeling a lot more confident. I was really worried about creating something that was going to be so pale with not much contrast at all. And like I said, I don't necessarily like using colored pencils in their lightness. I don't like that they create a texture that you can't get rid of. I don't like that the color isn't consistent. You guys know, like I previously said, I really like flat, bold colors and shapes, and not a lot of textures. I do enjoy texture, but I'm obsessed with making things flat and boring. Speaking of boring, no, I'm just joking. When it came to editing this video, I was originally going to chop it up into different sections of real-time footage so that you could just watch me slowly in real time color this piece bit by bit, just showing, I don't know, the most exciting parts of me wiggling the pencil on paper. But I did find it very interesting that although I did not put the pencil to the paper immediately and make it as dark as I could, I did build up the colors, and I thought it would be interesting if you guys saw the complete full process of me layering, oh gosh, a bajillion times. This was a very slow and tedious process. I don't know what's worse, waiting for paint to dry so you can put another layer, or scribbling for hours and hours on end to slowly fill a space. I also just think it's interesting that you see it oh so slowly come together as the most slightest touch of the pencil on the paper as I slowly combine all of these colors together and hopefully create something a little more interesting and create contrast and shading and some gradients. At this point, I didn't have too many concerns about this illustration. Everything was coming together quite well, but I couldn't stop staring at the cat the entire time. The eyes bothered me, the orange one just kind of looked bloodshot and freaky, and the gray color of the cat just wasn't, it just didn't feel like it was coming together. And on camera, it looks normal. Looking back at this, I think it looks fine. However, I added just a little bit of brown and purpled out the shadows on the cat, which I think made all of the art sort of come together a little bit more. The cat was the only place I used a pure gray, and it was sort of a cool gray, whereas the pumpkin and the mushrooms were very warm. And I wanted the cat to really be completed in this illustration. And an old kitty I used to have, Mr. Kitty, he had long gray fur, and as he got older, it actually turned brown in some patches. I looked it up, something to do with nutrition and being old. So making the cat just a little bit brown made sense. It wrapped everything together. And look at this sad story. We have our old dying pumpkin with mushrooms growing on it and our old senior kitty. I'm going to say he's relaxing on the mushroom. Definitely not slowly dying on the mushroom. I think all these pieces came together and made a very cute story. I had fun creating them, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Thank you so much for watching this video. And hey, if you want something else to do, you should read my comic. It's linked below. It's called Sketch Scouts. It's about artists. What? Okay, bye.